Good morning, traders. I'm Adam Harris, and this is your opening bell. So why is today special? Not necessarily for you, but for me, this is probably the first day where I'm filming because there's enough natural light that I don't need the office lights on. So it is Friday, the 3rd of March, 2023. And let's have a quick discussion of what's going on in the market. So this week, I've kind of been a bit embarrassed because I feel as though I've been calling it wrong, which is unusual for me. It happens, but it's just not as frequent. It feels like it's been a daily occurrence this week. But actually, when I look back, there's a couple of things I want to bring up here. It's not really a question of proving I'm right at all, not at all, not at all. It's just, it just explains what's been going on. When I look at the daily charts, I can see one candle up, one candle down, one candle up, one candle down. I look at the 4-hourly, there's been a lot of swings. So it actually has been one of those weeks where the market is really battling it out. When I look at the weekly candles across a lot of the different asset classes, I'm also seeing some bullish candles there as well, which is a contradiction. So, okay, so let's kick off today. So first of all, in terms of economic Canada news at 9:30, which is in just sort of around about 90 minutes from now, we do have we have GBP news, we have PMI data, services and composite PMI data coming out. And then later today, obviously 3 o'clock, we've got UK time, we've got US dollar news, we've got ISM non-manufacturing PMI. So it's a relatively peaceful day. Usually the first Friday of each month is non-farm payroll, which isn't going to be today. So it's going to be next week Friday. So obviously I'll be reminding you about that next week. If we then, but that doesn't mean that the markets aren't going to move. I suspect that we will actually see the markets move a lot today because Fridays tend to be the closing kind of session of the week. And so the markets want to make a decision about where they are. We'll see how that goes. If I have a look in terms of earnings, very little as well. We've got Deutsche, Lufthansa, so Lufthansa Airlines, basically in terms of earnings, that's really the most recognizable name on the list. I usually only look at companies that are that are at $1 billion or more, and so that's the only one that I can see qualifying, which is interesting. This week I've seen sometimes 20, 30 companies. There's just so many companies that are doing obviously quite well in terms of market cap. And then dividends-wise, we've got Domino's Pizza, we've got Nike and Woolworths. Some of you will be familiar with those brands as well. Now, just for those of you in South Africa, Woolworths in South Africa is not the same as Woolworths outside of South Africa. They're two very different entities. They're not the same thing. For those of you who don't know that, within South Africa, Woolworths is the top-notch kind of shop that you would essentially go to, which would be similar to Waitrose in the UK. And they're pretty much the same. In fact, it's closer to M&S really in terms of look and feel. For those of you who aren't familiar with either of those brands, you're just gonna have to find out, I'm afraid. Then if we have a look, so I've done the dividends, I've done earnings. If we go and have a look at the markets, so basically what's of interest to me as well is that I've seen a lot of the markets close higher. I've seen gold and silver, some of the metals have closed higher. I've seen currencies are kind of mixed. They're giving some different results. One of the things I would recommend for both day traders and swing traders, have a look at sterling against the US dollar. There's some very potential bearish setups that are there that are forming. Certainly there appears to be a particular price level. That price might be heading towards breaking through to the downside. So that looks interesting to me. Then if I have a look at the indices as well, the indices actually managed to close higher yesterday, which was very impressive. So we had a move on gold higher yesterday. We had indices closing higher. We've had individual, depending on the equities we look at the different stocks, we've had some of those close higher. Some of them actually gap down. For example, Tesla closed down, then gapped down, then closed higher, which is interesting. Whereas most of the equities tended to close high. Berkshire Hathaway doing very, very well. This is obviously Warren Buffett's time to shine. And then we have a look at cryptos. Cryptos took quite a hit yesterday. So this is, again, it's unusual. And it worries me when I see stuff that isn't really kind of when everything is acting a bit odd. It was interesting because cryptos took a big hit, quite a big hit. And so they're down essentially for the week, but a lot of other asset classes are actually up for the week. So I want to see where we close by the end of the US session later today. Excuse me, whether the US dollar does ultimately decide to, what it's going to do for the week, or if we're going to see a bit of a pushback on that, because we are sitting in a very interesting point in space as to whether, on the monthly timeframes as well, as to whether for March we're going to see that dollar strengthen, and we're going to see more of 2022. We're going to see that strong dollar yen as well, and so it's interesting to see where we are. We are at that fork in the road, but I've not very often had a week like this where every day there's just a fresh kind of battleground. So it does mean for day traders, you have to play it as it lies. You've just got to be prepared that it is a weird week if that's the case. For some of you, you might not have actually found that many trade setups. Certainly not because of that. On the high time frame, swing traders would have found it quite tricky. So there we go. That's it from me for today. I want to wish you a wonderful weekend, and I will chat to you in the next morning video. But yeah, have a great weekend and trade sensibly and trade your plans.